Now it's time to talk about a new comic drama, which is coming to Curzon Home Cinema from 7th of May. The film is called Apples. It's directed by Christos Nikou, and the executive producer is Cate Blanchett. And I'm very pleased to say that both Christos and Cate join me now. Hello, guys.
Greetings.
Hello, Ben. Nice meeting you.
Hello. Christos, let's start with you. I mean, I've no idea where either of you are right now. Christos, where are you?
I am in Athens right now.
You're in
actually,
Athens?
Greece. Yes.
Okay. And Cate, where do we find you?
I'm on a street, well, just off a street in Budapest.
You're wandering around outside, are you?
No, I was, but I came in to talk to you.
I feel blessed. You know, Cate, Christos and I, just before you came on the line, we were talking about the differences in restrictions in our respective countries. And Christos was surprising me by this message thing you have to do out in Athens, where there's a number code and you send a number 1 for going for a wee. What is it? What is it, Christos?
Number 1 is for to go to the doctor and to go to the pharmacy. Yes.
Right. And
number
then,
6 is to go out with your dog.
There you go.
You know what you're beginning to realize, Ben, is that apples and is actually, and the whole supposed Greek New Wave is actually naturalism. It makes complete sense in Greece.
That is exactly where I was going to go, and you were one step ahead of me, Cate. As he was speaking, I was thinking, so wait, you've got set tasks in chronological order. What does this remind me of? And for those that haven't yet had the pleasure of seeing the film Apples, I mean, I called it a comic drama. I don't even know if that's right. Cate, can you sort of set it up for us?
Well, yes, it's interesting. It's so hard. I mean, in like any great film and a film that stays with you, it's not easily definable. But yes, it's really buoyant and funny, and it is dramatic. I mean, it's about a man who you don't realize at first, but is suffering absolute profound memory loss, and it happens in the middle of a pandemic. And of course, this film took 6 years to make. And so it wasn't made with the pandemic in mind, but of course you can't help viewing it at the moment through that prism. And so it's all about how he's lost all those familiar markers and has to try and build his identity by going through this. I mean, it had me at hello, this movie, when I saw it at Venice. At the center of his kind of trying to rebuild his life is an organization called the Disturbed Memory Department, which I feel I have been living in for the last 18 months. So yes, it's a film for now, but I think it's one for the ages.
Well, I mean, that is so fascinating. And again, Cate, you're ahead of me, because I was going to ask about that 6 years thing, the fact that it's been made so long ago and feels prescient. So let me throw that back to you, Christos. If this is not a film that was made with the current pandemic in mind, where the hell does this come from? How has this come into your brain? Please take me back 6 years.
Look, we had a pandemic 6 years ago about amnesia in Greece. So that's how the government asked us to do all these things, and I had that idea. No.
Okay, I was just briefly floored there, because I've got Christos on camera here, and he was very good at being deadpan there. He totally fooled me.
Yes. Actually, the idea came to me because I was dealing with the loss of my father at that time, and I was trying to understand how selective is our memory and how we can erase something that hurt us, and in general how our memory functions, because I believe that our memory is actually it's our existence in a way. And so all the ideas and all the thoughts I had about the memory and how it functions, I tried to transfer it in a more ecumenical story and create this world that people behaving like amnesiacs, and they are amnesiacs actually, and how they behave in this world, and how, so this was more in my mind. And then also I believe that in a way, the last 10 years, we were living in a dystopia, in a different dystopia. I think that the extensive use of technology, the extensive use of social media, we are all the time behind the screen. If you will think, okay, it's not a virus, but it's a different way of, if we call it a virus, that we are so obsessed with screens. And I think that the most scary thing for me, I mean, from the last year of the pandemic that we are living right now, is that we are so not obsessed. We can't do something else. We are all day behind the screen.
Yeah, which leaves us sort of on our own, right? So each of us is isolated. We wouldn't say that we feel isolated, but we are physically isolated when we default to those screens and stay alone. Which I really got the feeling of that when I watched the movie, because that 4:3 ratio, I felt sort of boxed in, and I didn't see any crowds. I just see one person at a time in their little zone, not with the phone, but with their Polaroid camera, alone doing these tasks. And something about that really struck me. I don't know, it hit me right in the belly. Kate, you mentioned you saw this at Venice, right? That was the first time you saw it.
Yeah.
Just tell us a bit more about what drew you to it. I know you said it had you at hello, but then also actually becoming involved as an exec.
Well, Venice was such a wonderful, it feels like a mirage, it was and a miracle that it even could take place. But I'd heard about the film and about Christos before I went there, and then we met, and I had the chance, because it was obviously in a separate line of competition. It was not Ezotti, it wasn't in the main competition. So I felt I could go with impunity, having been president of the main jury. There was no kind of conflict of interest. And I was so disarmed by the film. And it's interesting you're talking about that feeling of being boxed in, because I thought, I felt so blessed to see it screened. And people can still imbibe this movie and however they're going to view it. But there's such visual restraint, to the film. And so, a bicycle, a head bandage, a chair has such kind of resonance, because there's such kind of visual restraint that the Christos has used. And so it feels like a very, you're in a city, an unnamed city somewhere, but it feels like it's an analog universe. It could be now,
absolutely.
It could be then.
Absolutely.
It sort of exists. The film really has stayed with me, and I've been haunted by it, I think, because of its no place. But it was so powerful to see it on the big screen. So then we met and we chatted and we got on, didn't we? We took a few photos of ourselves on Polaroids, and it just seemed, any way that we at Dirty Films, our production company, could help scaffold Christos's work, and we're working together on another feature. It just felt like it was a privilege, really.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, analog is the word that was in the back of my head, with Polaroids, cassette tapes, bicycles, even that moment where, our protagonist and the woman he meets, who's also going through the same process, she's that one step ahead of him, and she's been told to go and drive this car. And that was the one moment I remember in the film seeing something that felt very, very 2021. There was this sort of funky, modern looking, almost like Jeep type SUV, and they couldn't get into it. And she's like, oh, no, it's this one. And then we're like, oh, right, the crappy 70s Citroen. Yeah, that sounds about right. I loved how it stayed true to that kind of, that sensibility of feeling like it was decades ago, but it's not decades ago. It's got that real dreamlike quality.
Without wanting to actually sort of carbon date myself, I was around when everyone was embracing Polaroids for the first time. And sometimes when these things are used in film, it can feel like what a friend of mine refers to as nostalgic ephemera. But it's nostalgic without being sentimental. Like it's the film has reduced communication and connection to the past to its absolute kind of nuts and bolts kind of relationship. And I think that's what makes the film, you get the structure of it. It's quite brutal in a way, I think, because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Christos?
But also, I think that about the analog way of approaching the film, I feel that it's also the analog approach. I mean, it's when you want to make a comment, because we want to make a comment about technology and how technology, the digital technology, has affected a lot our memory, because there is no need to save something in your mind anymore. You store all your data in device. I mean,
oh no,
I know exactly what point he's making, though. While he's gone, because I like, how many phone numbers do you remember, like, by heart now, Kate? Like, I think I've got maybe 3. Whereas when I was a kid in the 90s, I knew 100 numbers. I had all the numbers.
No, but and that is, it's what Christos was saying earlier about us being entrapped by and isolated by technology. And it's so interesting. It's like having dementia. You know, the people often with dementia will remember things in their distant past, but not remember anything present. So they'll start seeing nursery rhymes. And if I'm honest, the first number that comes into my head is 492521, which
what's that?
Which was my home number when I was a child, and you'd always be taught to answer the phone, which was on the wall, and
say the number,
and 492521. You have to, this polite way of answering the phone. Can I help you?
Same.
Yeah.
If we will call this number right now, somebody will reply or not?
Well, no, I think there's a few more people in Australia. When I grew up in Australia, there were 14 million people, and now there's 24. So I don't know, but we could try.
Hey, Christos, I don't know if you've seen this film, but there was a couple of things that really made me think, like in terms of double bills. When I was watching Apples, there was a moment where the protagonist's the friend he makes, the female friend he makes, there's just a little aside. She throws it away completely, just talking about how, I'm not sure if anybody remembers me, or maybe they didn't like me, but no one's ID'd me. She just sort of throws it away. And it really weirdly reminded me of Coco. Did you ever see that Pixar film, Coco? And it was all about purgatory, right? And about how you'll disappear from this purgatory forever after death. Like your soul you'll completely be erased if your living family forget about you completely, And I really had that same sort of sadness I got from that movie. I got from not just from Aris's character, but from all the characters that you see just dotted around on the street going through the same thing. Just that horrible sadness of, oh God, like nobody remembers this person. They don't remember anything, which is tragic, but maybe nobody remembers them. And don't we all have a thing where we don't know what we're doing with our lives, but we kind of want to be remembered somehow?
To be honest, I haven't seen Coco, but
no worries.
I totally agree with you. Yes, in a way, it's very scary if we will think that even when we will leave from this world, if somebody remembers us, or we will stay somehow. But I feel that even when people are leaving from this world, even after a grief, somehow we keep. That's why we have to keep people, not in photographs or to capture them in that way, but only, I think that it's much stronger if we have them in our memories.
I'm just pausing there because I found that kind of hit me in the heart there, Christos. I appreciate that. Cate, I was thinking about your execing, because I know you've done a little bit here and there. You did that Mrs. America TV series, didn't you? And what was the move? Was it Carol? You execed on Carol, right?
Yeah.
You've done a few things.
My husband and I, we ran a theatre company in Australia for a long time, and so we're obviously producing work that way, and so the company went sort of dormant, and so we've been exec producing and then producing more actively. And you can lend your voice in the latter process of a film's life for example, with Apples, or for Fingernails, which we're working on with Christos, you can get in there from the ground up.
I'm interested by this because obviously I know you, like most people know you, as an incredible actor. Is this something that's creeping in and sharing that space, or do you still see yourself very much as, I'm an actor, this is my main, this is my bread and butter, and I love doing a bit of execing on the side? Or are you starting to find something that you feel you're going to mature into as you go into the next phase of your career?
Look, I've never, in any moment in my career, that the role is always absolutely secondary to the dialogue that one enters into with the script, with the and with the director, most importantly, but also with the other actors. And so it's material to me whether I'm in it or not in it. And so I relish the opportunity to produce other people's work, because I think there's a set, and I've experienced this, in front of the camera as well. I think that there's a paucity of creative producing. So producing is not just finding the money, it's finding the money from the right source that's not going to compromise the artistic vision of the director and those involved, of the creative team. And I think it's also knowing how to develop things, because I think there's already, I think, in the streaming space, there's a sense that we're content providers. And I think that's an anathema. Well, it's an anathema to me, you know, and I don't want to produce and create and develop things just to fit into the pre-existing shapes and holes that have been made. You've got to find the right space and the right development process. And so I think that, you know, there are a lot of actors who are entering the producerial space, but I think it's probably a natural evolution from their invisible involvement in the development process. Because a lot of actors, I think, are not just for hire. They are truly interested in the whole of the project, not just their part.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's if I could add something on that, I could say that she's also an amazing producer, not only an amazing actress. I mean that Kate, she cares so much about the projects, and she's super cinephile. She watches movies a lot, and when you're discussing about movies with her, is the best. And if I can say something that I haven't also told her, that it's that I would love to see her if she will direct one movie. Yes, I would love to see that. To be honest.
And like Kate says, I think it's about the love of cinema first and foremost, and making sure the right stories get told in the right way. So speaking of which, you've both sort of teased it a little bit, but you guys are collaborating on something else. What's this next project? Can you say anything about it?
Well, how could we not? I mean, it was, you know, the first thing when you see a great piece of cinema, which Apples is, and you meet someone you connect with, as Christos and I did, you say, well, what else have you got? You know, what ideas have you got going? And Christos had this other wonderful idea about romantic love, you know, another subject dear to my heart. And so, you know, we've been on that roller coaster ride, haven't we, Christos?
Yes, it's a title. It's a movie that it's called Fingernails. Yes, we're working with Kate, and can I say, Kate, a few more things, or no? Do you think?
Yes, of course. Yes, you may, Christos.
It's about how we're missing in our lives right now, nowadays, love, and in general, romantic love. And who would like to create a movie that is somehow the other side of the same coin, like apples. I mean, from the same coin of apples. And our with me, my co-writer from Apples, Stavros Raptis, and Sam Steiner, and the main protagonist is Carey Mulligan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know, we're so lucky. It's great.
Well, listen, I just can't wait to have some more love in my life via you two guys. So thanks so much for taking the time out for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks, Ben.